we are now recording. It's going to be more like a conversation.
Okay.
I would like a neurotypical's view of what they thought about hummingbird and how it feels to be taught by people with disabilities, with different disabilities, in concerns to how they viewed the world before hummingbird.
I've actually was quite humbled, I suppose, when I first was invited by you to look at the group. I think there was some comment I made on a Facebook posting of yours, and you said, "Hey, you should check my group out." I honestly, it was something like that. I can't remember, and I was actually. It might have even been to do with a rally that we were doing. I think I seem to think it was a rally, and I was like very amazed at what you'd done with Hummingbird, and I was, because I think I'm an RN, and I think I've looked after people for many years, and I got this and I understand, but I think I've learned so much, and I realize now I actually didn't really understand an awful lot. I think I was typical of sort of feeling sorry for people maybe, or thinking that I needed to help people all the time, like when I realized that actually, given the tools, you're very, very, very capable of helping yourself, but you're also very able to teach us how to work together. I think working together is much more interesting than just saying, "Oh, would you like some sugar in your tea, dear?"
Yeah, pretty much. What is it about, say, your attitude towards before hummingbird and say now, like the difference? Has it changed you as a person? Has it changed your world in any given way?
I definitely think I'm more understanding in a different way. I'm definitely more apt to let, if I know that I've got somebody coming in who's got invisible disabilities, and I'm more apt to let them lead what I do rather than assume that they want this help or they want that or they want the other. It's subtle.
Yes.
But it's a subtle change, but actually it's a huge change. It's weird. It's weird in that way, but it's like I don't have to dictate to you, because what I need to do is allow you to tell me what you need, and then I can. It's such a subtle shift, but it's also a huge shift at the same time.
Well, you do know that autism does come in different genre, right? Like,
yeah.
it affects people differently, much like multiple sclerosis. Only one's not a disease. And much like any disability out there, there's a spectrum to everything, right?
Yes.
So how would you address somebody who's nonverbal, can't speak, but also has autism and brains like mine?
I mean, that one I would probably need more help on.
You're neurotypical, you can read body language, you were taught how to
Yes.
do that going to school, right?
Yes. Oh, for sure. And I mean, obviously, like, in years of nursing, sort of towards the back end of the scale, when, for example, when I first was working in a unit where every patient had dementia, and they were nonverbal, and they were, and things. So, but you do learn, you're right. As you get to know people, you do learn to read certain things. But yeah, it's tough, and I don't always get it right. I put my foot in it constantly, but I'm far less likely to put my foot in it with you now, I think, than I am probably a neurotypical, when I'm just not caring anymore. I think I'm just more, or try to be more aware of what's being said.
So you would allow yourself to approach the person given the nature of their disability, because a lot of disabilities have visual features for which you can read right off the bat whether they're uncomfortable or they just crap themselves. These are all things that us caregivers know right off the bat, because it's in your face. Either that or you smell it.
That's kind of an easier one, crap in your pants.
But at the same time, in the same token, how would you address to your nurses to say, hey, look, because you've been around autism for a while, and you've slowly learned that there are certain characteristics in autism. There is, trust me. From me to say, if you were to compare me to that of, say, your son's of average age of 16, what are the subtle differences that you see, say, in average girl, me with autism, and diagnosed at about 16 to say that of an average person my own age?
Gosh, honestly, I don't really fully know how to answer that. I mean, I think boys are all on the spectrum anyway. So 16-year-old boy,
35.
yes.
But girls,
But I think before I might have been more trying to tread on eggshells and trying not to,
insult?
trying not to sort of like, maybe not trying not to even engage because I'd be worried about doing something wrong. Whereas now I'm like, hey, if I do something wrong, Tara will tell me, and
Yeah.
that's great. And I think that might be the biggest thing, is like, I'm not scared anymore because I know if I put my foot in it, I'm not gonna leave you running off in a hello, you horrible, because
No.
you'll just say straight out to me, actually, no,
This is how you do it.
this is how you. And I think it's almost it's weird, but I'm more worried. Yeah, I think that probably is the biggest thing, is that I'm not scared anymore, because if I do something wrong or say something wrong, you're not going to hate me. You're just going to tell me straight off, actually, that wasn't really the right thing, or I didn't like, or I didn't appreciate how you did that, or I don't agree with you. It's not I don't find it's a big barrier anymore, and
No.
that might be the biggest thing that I've learned, is actually there isn't a barrier. There's no barrier
It's
between me and you.
neurotypicals put in front of us that makes
Yeah.
life a barrier.
Yeah.
If you really think about it.
Yeah, because
mean-
I don't actually have any problem sitting here chatting to you. We've had dinner
Exactly.
together. It's been.
It's awesome.
I haven't even I never even think about you having a disability, because you're Tara,
Exactly.
and that's all that
But you
And
notice
we
how
all
you're
have our
changing.
foibles, even
Yeah.
neurotypicals. I find some of them much harder to talk to than I do
Tell
you.
me about it. I won't even go there. But you can take that same practice that I've been trying to teach you and put it towards other disabilities too.
Yes, absolutely.
You let the person with the disability teach you how to deal with them.
Yes.
Especially if you have a person that might have invisible disabilities. I hate to say this, but every disability has its own way.
Mhm.
If there's too much noise in a room, take them out of the room.
Yeah.
Chances are it's a sensory issue
Yeah.
causing this
Yeah.
to happen,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the person's scared.
Yeah.
They're going to be nonverbal. You know what? The first signs of anxiety, you as a nurse would know that.
Mhm. For
Whether
sure.
it's in a neurotypical or an autistic or BP,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You got to really understand and take that into consideration. Just because the world is one way for you isn't going to be our world.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, to melt the two worlds, how would you bring that? How would you,
Well, that's the thing, is I think if people actually took the time to meet with people like yourself and that, they'd actually realize that it's not really that hard, and it's not really that divided, and it's not really that difficult. In fact, the only people making it difficult is us or yourself. All the difficulties up here, and there isn't any difficulty.
No.
It's it's a perception of difficulty.
The other part of the disability is that a lot of us have a language barrier between our two ways of being. You got to think, average people, they're a lot more educated and advanced brain power wise than average people with a disability.
Sometimes.
Depends on the person. And Kenny, I understand. But at the same time, you really got to think, people with disabilities have a lifelong history of having a disability. They know what the hell they're talking about.
Yes.
And if given half the chance to speak, it could change your world.
Definitely.
And instead of asking a person to be diplomatic and proper and all this, what about accepting people for where they're from?
Isn't that just huge? That's across the board for me.
But it's
to
not
do that.
happening.
No.
Because people expect me to do things that you take for granted and that are innate, such as the tact, diplomacy, and soft skills. What happens if you can't read body language like me? Seriously.
You're screwed. You can't. Yeah. I mean, you've taught yourself really well, but at
I
the
still
same
can't
time-
read body language.
No, but you.
Mine is over exaggerated, as you've noticed.
But you've taught yourself somehow or other. You've taught yourself to pick up on those signs, whatever it is you're doing.
Whatever's in my face, yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I was reading a book actually that where the detective has we're not allowed to say Asperger's anymore, but anyway, they
No,
call
that
it
comes out of
Asperger's in the
McDonald's.
book. But he has Asperger's, and it's really interesting because they talk about him how he doesn't really read the body language, but he's learnt that this person, when they wink or they do this or they're mad, like he's learned of certain things that they do show that they're feeling a way that he doesn't even understand what the feeling is, but he knows that he mustn't do that. It's really quite interesting. Yeah.
I mean, like how people are towards people with disabilities is, it's basically night and day. When you give yourself the chance to get to know one of us, it changes your world in a way that you probably never perceived.
Yeah. And I think, it relies on people just stopping and just accepting people for who they are, and just realizing that, the world is made up of lots of different people, and it's...
I mean, as we all get older in age, everyone is going to have a disability, whether you like it or not. To be picking on people that are born with something, whether it's what I've got or bipolar, what's the difference between what I've got and, say, you getting dementia?
Oh, gosh.
How would you like it if you had dementia and I went and picked on you?
Yeah, exactly. And it happens, doesn't it? I mean, like, elder abuse it's people just, I don't know why people have this penchant for wanting to harm other people.
But that's the reality.
It is the reality.
And it starts from the time that the parents have kids and they don't teach it at home about teaching about their children having a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why so many young kids want to die if they have any kind of mental health issue.
Yeah,
or
the
if
number of kids committing suicide is scary. I mean, there was a 9-year-old just recently again, right?
Picture that 9-year-old probably being undiagnosed.
My 9-year-old wouldn't have even, I hope my 9-year-old wouldn't have even known how to do it, but they clearly did. So,
it's not that hard to figure out. Grab a knife, slit your wrist, there you go.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to figure out.
To be in that big of a hole that a kid would do that.
Actually,
to
I wanted to when I was a kid because I was bullied.
Yeah, and there's always been bullying. It's bullying that's caused all of this, and that for me is like, we are going seriously wrong if we cannot teach our children
to have a heart.
To have a heart.
Because what I've found is that the world has gotten more and more hateful.
And more polarized.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to belong to a camp. No, you don't. I don't have to I don't have to agree with everything that you say just because I'm a white blonde girl. I don't have to believe what all the other white blonde girls believe. Why should I?
I'm white and blonde.
Yeah, absolutely.
Underneath this fake color.
Absolutely.
I mean, in the 80s, we all grew up with shoulder pads. Just don't stick spikes on the damn things and kill yourself over that shit, right?
Yeah.
People have taken things so seriously and so wrong.
Well, I think there's such a this world has been the world goes in cycles, and I just feel that we're at a point that something's got to give. We've got to stop
and think about what we're doing. How we treat each other and why we are doing
because
this to this one.
Bottom line is, I don't know about you, but bottom line for me is, if I've been at work and I've done something so doesn't seem very much to, as part of my job, but the person, it's made a huge difference to them, and then they say something nice to me, and then I say something nice back, and and then I go on to the next person, and I'm feeling happier, so that person may, and you impart that happiness, and
exactly.
Before you know it, you think, gosh, what a lovely day at work I had.
Yeah.
And all I was doing was, like, people were just being nice.
So, knowing that I have invisible disabilities, can you imagine how many invisible disabilities might be in amongst your nursing staff alone that are too scared to say anything because they're scared of being treated different or getting fired from the only thing that's keeping them going?
Yeah.
How would you approach that person and watch over them? How would you address that person knowing what I've got? There's traits in invisible disabilities that...
I haven't spotted it through my career, to my knowledge. I have with some of the nursing aides and stuff like
There's
that.
There's a lot of it.
I've never been that person. The chaplain, and I'm not religious, but anyway, it was a UK hospital, and our chaplain there was actually really, really good, and he was used to come in and speak to the student nurses in their first week. And he came in and he said, okay, girls and boys, there was a few boys, and he said, so who is the most important person in the hospital? So of course we all chime in, the patient. No. What do you mean not the patient? So yeah, no, see, that's what we did. We went us, and no, went the doctors, no, we're going like, and we were going through all this list of stuff, and we like literally listed everybody, and and he was like, no, you're not right. And so he looked at me and he said, well, I said, but we've named everybody, like everybody in the hospital. And I said, is it you? Are you the most important person? And no. The answer to the question is the person who's needed next. And he said, you could be the best brain surgeon in the world, but if your OR lights go out because a bulb is blown, the electrician's going to be the most important person in that OR for that time. If you are on a unit and a patient's got MRSA, to stop you spreading that, your cleaner that you need is going to be the most important person in that room when they're cleaning. And if you need a blood sample taken real quick to the lab in an emergency, the porter's going to be the most important person in the room right there. He said everybody is going to be the most important person at one time or another. So treat everybody with the same respect, be it the cleaner or the person who comes and delivers the food trays, or or your doctor or whatever, because you never know when you're going to need that person next. And if you have dissed them, they might not come quick enough for you.
Or they might be someone like me, but not as many abilities.
Yeah, but that's it, and I've been nursing 27 years, and this was 27 years ago, and I've never forgotten it. Actually, it's 29 because 2 years I didn't nurse for a bit. But you know what I'm saying? And that to me is, I've never forgotten that. So I've always, and it's interesting because even when I came here, like I always treated the nursing aides and that with, I never asked them to do anything that I wasn't either helping them with or they knew I would do, except that I was trying to put out a fire somewhere else. And it was really funny because I'd been back 3 weeks, and one of my colleagues said, how come so-and-so, like the minute you ring the bell and ask her, she's down there and she's helping you? And I said, because she knows if I call her, I actually need her. I don't tell her to go and give my patient a bedpan just because I want to sit up here and drink my coffee. I said, if I'm not doing anything and my patient needs a bedpan, I will give my patient a bedpan. I said, so when I call her, she knows it's because I need help.
Seems both of us were raised old school.
Yeah.
Because I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I don't have a piece of paper to say that I can do the same thing as an HCA. As a matter of fact, I could probably run circles around half of them.
Yeah, you probably could.
But it's funny how old school caregivers like us can actually relate to each other so easily, even though the generation might be one or two, right?
Yes.
But
Don't tell them how many.
I don't really care. I'm only 46. But at the same time, you walk into any nursing home and you see the cockfest going on at the desk.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Grandpa with dementia is screaming his head off because he crapped himself.
Yeah. Oh,
the dignity's gone downhill in 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is as well is that a lot of those, especially the private nursing homes, they literally do not have the staff. Like, did you see the undercover things? And they do not, it's not even the staff's fault. They do not have the time. And yet, this is who's going to be entrusted.
When you put a young 25-year-old HCA in front of someone with so many medical health issues,
they can't.
Especially if they have a learning disability that is nonverbal plus.
Yeah, well, it's not. It's going to be a disaster, isn't it?
It's going to be more than a disaster. How many of those people are going to die because of sepsis due to a sore on their ass? Pressure sore equals bed sore equals.
Pressure sores shouldn't even exist. That's what my nursing.
No, they shouldn't. But that's usually extended because people have been on that spot for how long?
Oh yeah, I know.
They should be turned like bread about every 2 hours.
Yeah. Actually, we used to do a quarter turn every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So quarter turn back, and then full turn, and then back, and then full turn, and that was our turning regime.
Yeah. And now people are like, I saw one lady when I was in a nursing home long time ago, and it was long before you needed a piece of paper to signify that you could actually do what average people can do. One woman died from sepsis due to a pressure sore, and she was a senior, well in her 80s, could barely hold one word. And I watched this poor lady die from rot, basically. And once those bed sores start, they just keep on going.
They get cavernous.
Yeah. And other times, I actually failed my HCA course because I actually bucked the system. I'm the black sheep, literally. I don't believe that for a minute.
Well,
I fought with my teacher about disability, because in the book it said black and white, clear as
that's
day.
the problem with books, and that's the problem in nursing today.
Yeah, it said basically that all disabilities come from drugs. My mom was a
What?
yeah. My mom would rather hug a tree than hug her husband. At the time.
I can't comment on that.
No. But at the same time, in the same token, another side to that was they had the MS thing in there. Guess what I grew up with? Tara's gonna fight about it for 2 fucking hours and just about fail the course. Of course. So their idea was stick Tara in the most busiest goddamn center there was before she was even diagnosed. And she fails the course because she can't handle the noise because of social anxiety disorder, which she didn't find out until she was actually diagnosed for it. So I failed the HCA program, but yet in the course itself, I told the teachers I will never be in a hospital-like situation because I can't handle it. But if you came into my world, I was already using a wire lift.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that's the thing is like, I think, that's the other thing I think today is so much is like, oh, well, it's in the book, or we've got to...
It has to be done this way.
It has to be done this way. I mean, we're fighting that right now on my unit, and I
would like to see
it,
more augmented type things for people with disabilities, where if the person's already pulling whatever an HCA is doing, but in the real world, come into the person's real world and see what they're doing. I bet you anything, in the real world where you have to do it alone in someone's house is a lot harder than having a 2-person team.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
And if I know how to use a wire lift by myself without any supervisor or some schmuck telling me you're doing it wrong, well, how do you do it right when you're the only one?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this whole world has gone stupid.
To shit in a basket, yes.
It's stupid with its, policies, and you have to do it like this, and there's no thought to the person behind it, or the person that you're treating,
or the situation that's behind it.
I just...
Have you heard anything about, there's one thing that I've always wanted to ask the nurses. Since you're a part of the union, have the nurses ever talked about the program, self-managed care program? It's through HS, and it's for people that are on their own at home that might have a medical condition, but they need extra care, but they get the services through personal hired staff instead of companies.
I'm not sure I do. I do remember, though, I'm new to, well, not new, but I don't know how you function here. We certainly had that it wasn't called that, but we certainly had, it just came under regular home care in the UK, but we certainly had that program in the UK, but that was the norm. Well,
here in Canada, we call it self-managed care, and basically it's people like me that would go into, say, your home or someone's home that had a physical disability for which you become the arms and legs, or they need other care practices, like, say, you already know, you're not a nurse, but you know how to use a wire lift, right? So I have an MS client who can't walk.
Right.
I know how to do the sit-stand.
Right.
So instead of having trained staff, you have people like me go in who are trained to a certain extent because of history. Instead of having a piece of paper to prove that you can use something, it's a job that is hired through private care.
Right.
And it's not a company, it's people like me, average.
Right.
And basically how I figured it out was the HS gives X amount of money to that person through means of a private kind of deal or bank account, a business account, and that whatever falls in that account comes to me through means of pay.
Right.
That's how it works, and it's a real job. WCB is taken off and everything.
Okay.
So that's how that works.
Oh.
And my client, she is absolutely petrified of what's going to go on with that program if things
Oh.
become.
I can't. Well, see, this is the thing. Is
And
like,
I've been trying to find answers because
Yeah.
this is a friend of mine as well.
yeah,
And
and you've got nowhere.
I've got nowhere, and I'm hoping that somebody can find the answers for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm petrified. This woman can't walk. She lives in her own home. Her son has ADHD
Right.
and can be a
I mean,
handful.
for me, the biggest the person that you maybe should be trying to, and you might be able to do this through Marie or whatever, but the person you might want to try and get a hold of is to find the answer to that might be David Shepherd.
I've been trying to get a hold of him. He never contacts me.
Have you tried him on Instagram?
I don't have Instagram.
You might want to just get it for that. I've found this is bizarre. I think because not as many people are on Instagram.
Mm.
I have had. I mean, I got one of the MLAs that came to our rally. I got by just Instagramming and saying, hey, do you want to come and speak at our rally? Because they've got 2 in Edmonton, and I don't see why Calgary should only have 1. So,
Yeah.
and they actually reply back. And even right now, if I want to say something quick or send them something quick, I send it from via Instagram.
Nice.
Bizarre.
Yeah, like
I don't want to tell too many people because then I might lose this quick chat thing.
Yeah,
But,
no. I've been
but
trying to find answers.
Have you tried to? Have you asked Marie to try and maybe get hold of him?
I've tried everything, and
Really?
that's why I came to you.
I mean, yeah. The
about
problem
that
is,
question.
like, I wouldn't know where to begin. I mean, I can certainly try and and dig
maybe
around.
you have better channels than I do.
Yeah, I will
Like
dig around.
check with the HS
yeah, I will dig around
people
and see if I can
because
find.
I have no. I'm worried about my friend.
Yeah.
Because if she's left without care.
I mean, right now I haven't heard anything about any program like that ending, which I think that would be more the time you'd hear about it.
Yeah, but given the secrecy that's going on, everything going privatized and shit like that, I would like to nip that in the bud for people that live on their own who don't have a voice right now.
Okay, and so what's the program called again?
Self-managed care.
Self-managed care. Okay.
Yeah, it's imperative that people.
I haven't heard anything on any rumblings about that one, but I'll.
Because over the years, I've watched a lot of people being forced into nursing homes that could easily be on self-managed care.
And that would save so much, yeah.
And if you have people that are living at home and getting the care that they need, which would be probably better care than you would get in a bloody nursing home, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, the nursing home, don't talk, because the private nursing homes are horrendous.
Yeah, well, I've seen some pretty scary shit.
Yeah, I know, so have I.
And that was years ago when they were just starting that crap during the Klein days.
When the minute that you put money before people,
yeah,
you've lost
I
already.
mean, the way I've always said to people, lead by example. Well, our government is definitely leading by example, and the attitudes have changed during COVID to really bad, especially to the disability community.
Yeah, well, I mean, the attitudes have changed. Period. I mean, we had somebody in one of the parks in Airdrie. She's just walking on her phone like you do, and this was a racially motivated attack. Just literally grabbed her phone and smashed it on the floor and told her to F off home.
Someone in our community was attacked by police, quite literally.
I remember you saying, yeah.
Yeah, and this person has the ability to live on her own, and it's things like this that really tick me off. That we are definitely marginalized, but people are speaking for us, over us, not with us.
Yeah.
And I find this very disheartening and very insulting.
But you're right. I mean, the attitudes are not helping either.
No,
it's making it worse, and it's making it. I mean, the hatred that's being fostered.
All of my friends, at one time or another, that are exempt, have been pushed out of shops.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they have one of these, which is a medical alert bracelet, or a note from their doctor. And our doctors are all saying that businesses have the right to whatever. What about our right to have food in our cupboards? And that's the only chance that we get to get out of our homes if we're on age. The only social environment.
I mean, that's.
It's like, go home and hide and get someone to do your shit for you. No, I don't want that. It's about my independence. I had to fight to get where I'm at. Would I want someone to do something that I can do for myself? Just because I'm exempt doesn't mean that I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I can't.
And I think, again, you know, going back to hateful people, the only reason that there's an issue is because assholes have co-opted,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and so it tarnishes everybody with the same brush, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's always the minority that spoils it for everybody else.
Yeah.
Because if they hadn't been assholes, nobody would be worried. They'd just think, oh, you know, I understand they
Mhm.
can't. But now it's because they have the blooming anti-mask rallies, and everybody who
Mhm.
doesn't want to wear one is automatically one of those dipshits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of actually having a genuine reason
Yeah.
that they can't wear
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. I mean, for me, it was pretty much, the world was pretty much arrogant before COVID, but now it's gotten worse attitude.
And again, it's still factions. Well, I'm anti-mask, and I don't. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the asshats, right? I'm anti-mask. And why should I have my freedoms taken away from me? And then you've got the, I'm so good. I'm wearing a mask, and I'm going to make you feel so bad for not wearing it because you're an anti-mask hole, right? And then stuck right in the middle of the genuine people
that are for the masks, but
that are
can't
for
wear
the
them.
masks that can't wear them. And you know, you almost feel like you want to give them T-shirts. I agree with masks, but I can't wear one. I have an exemption. You know, like,
Yeah, it's like,
ridiculous, isn't
yeah.
it?
I mean, so far what I've seen about the laws being made, they forgot one small detail. Yes, I think that if you are going to have something like that card system or whatever you're going to do, that a person should have to just prove it once and then have the card, and then everyone else can
Do you
fuck
know
off.
what they gave those cards to the blooming leisure centres to give
Yeah, I
out
know.
like candy? So then suddenly
It
again it
doesn't
meant
mean-
nothing.
Yeah.
That card should be something that you only given to you by your doctor. It's a quick flash for the person at the front. They know that the only person you could have got it from is the doctor, and it's done, right?
Or something as simple as, say, your medical card if you're on age.
Yeah.
You know, things that actually prove you have a disability without having to carry the novel that you might have at home stuffed away in a drawer.
Well, you
Right?
know, even as you say, your simple thing like your medical alert bracelet and that. Most
And it
people
still
aren't
doesn't
going to.
help.
No, I know, but most of the mask holes aren't going to have those to flash around there.
No, but they
So-
can easily get it off of Amazon and get it printed.
Well, yeah, that's true. And that's the problem again. Like again, we have people spoiling it, right? People trying to, and why? If you don't have a real issue about, you know, that causes you to have a problem wearing a mask, why would you want to get out of it anyway? Like, what's the big deal if you don't have an issue
Mm-hmm.
about wearing a mask? Like,
Exactly.
Really? You're going into a store. How long are you really going to be in that store if you don't have a
Depends
problem?
on the store. If you're grocery shopping and it's your monthly run-in with the
No,
store.
but I'm talking about these guys. I'm
Idiots.
not talking. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the idiots. You know,
Those
like-
idiots, well, you never know. They could be taking advantage of a good thing because that's the way their
But is
personality
it a
treats
good?
us.
Why is it a good thing to not want to protect people if you can? Right? If
Exactly.
you can,
If you
then
can.
why would you not?
Because
Right?
to me, if other
And that
people...
way you know that if there's somebody there who's
Yeah.
not, they really can't.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if there's people like me out there everywhere, we may be about this much in society, but when we have how many people around us wearing a mask, are we not being protected?
You're being protected.
Which is fine by me, because I usually get out maybe once a day.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I'm at home playing with a bunch of sticks trying to put my fence back together and doing landlord shit. But for the most part, the one time during the one part of the day is the only time a lot of us get out and are allowed to socialize. The rest of the time during COVID, we're busy hiding. We're,
Mhm.
once again, basically considered society's dirty little secret.
Yeah. Well,
And it's not fair to us.
no.
We didn't ask.
Nope.
And that's why we want to teach you guys about our
Mhm.
world, because
Mhm.
we wake up every day with a challenge. Not that you don't, but your challenges are minimal in comparison to what we have to wake up with every freaking
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
Unless if you're a nurse and you have to go into ER, right? Then you face similar challenges that are equal to
Yeah.
what we have to face every day.
Few ER nurses could do with some training on that front, that's for sure.
Well, you have plenty of frying pans. I'm pretty sure you can pound it into them. Bad joke, I know. But,
Let's do that.
I mean, when you go into a profession of care, then if you get too jaded,
Then it's time
leave.
to move on. Yes.
Leave.
I always used to find if I got up and I was dreading going to work, it was time to move units.
Either move units or move yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That goes same with workers within the disability field. A lot of them are so jaded that they treat you like crap.
Social workers too. They can get so jaded as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, I've run across my fair share when I was on age, trust me. It's sad, but the reality is as is. And
But the bottom line is the person before you might have been like whatever, but that doesn't a drug addict seeking whatever.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the next person coming along is.
yeah.
And you know, the more jaded they get, the more stuff being missed.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it blows my mind some of the stories I hear. You know, and these are my fellow nurses who,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I spend my time fighting to say, you know, what a great profession, and most of us are.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
There's the odd one.
it's becoming, you know, it's like it makes me scared to have to be in hospital and be nurse, because either I've got to be that bitch from hell who used to be a nurse.
And then there's the other side, like some of them, yeah, they went to school, heard about disabilities, but never really came across
You don't. I mean, I did not do to work with the full, like we did psychiatry and we did maternity and we never did a module on disability. It was never like, if you wanted to work with, there was a whole different branch of nursing, because in the UK we used to have adult nursing. Used to be general nursing, but now got changed to adult nursing, and then pediatric nursing, which they may do a unit in now. I mean, I don't know what the new training's like, or psychiatry, and then the other branch was mental health nursing, and that's where that's the nurses that worked with the disabled community. So it was all compartmentalized.
Yeah.
So I didn't get in my training a specific training about, which is like, oh well, you'll come across them, so you know you'll learn it.
I think everybody should have
Everybody
an open
thought
window on
we,
that and
we,
get
we would get it
experience.
in our psychiatry, and then you know disabled men, you know, paraplegics and stuff, and we're bound to come across those. There was never, I mean, to be honest, to be fair, I don't know when autism and stuff was actually even recognised, or I don't know.
Germany, 1800s.
Well, no, but I mean like recognised in
Canada?
modern, in the UK or Canada as an actual, you know, as an actual diagnosis. So I don't even know when I first started nursing if they had those.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
they
certainly ADHD and stuff was not diagnosed.
No, that's because ADHD was
I mean,
nothing more than a boy's.
bipolar and stuff like that was, but that was in our psychiatry. So we did all of that stuff, you
Yeah.
know, the obvious things.
Yeah. But
I didn't really know about autism or, you know.
autism and ADHD were generally thought as boys' disabilities, because if you ever looked at all of your medical books, it's based off the male physiology.
It is still today. That's, you know.
And that is why girls are diagnosed so late in life. I mean, prime example, I'm 39. I was 39, so really.
So yeah, so you know, and that's it, you know, like for me. So, you know, part of it's a learning curve, but the difference is I want to learn.
Which is rare that you're the first person in my lifetime that has actually wanted to
Well,
learn.
it's made me a better nurse. It's made me a better nurse because even if I don't think about, oh, maybe they have a disability or maybe they have that. That's not the thing. It's this person's uncomfortable. Let me find out what's going on, or this isn't quite working for this person. Maybe I can find something that works better. I don't always get it right, but
Nobody's perfect. We're all human.
yeah.
But
Usually the people I've got it wrong on turn out to just be neurotypicals or being assholes. So
Yeah,
I usually
pretty
think
much.
that's okay.
You know, at least you are trying to change how you see things and see your world, because if you're not around disability, how do you know how to address somebody
Yeah.
with issues of difference?
Yeah.
I mean, how you deal with me isn't going to be how you would deal with Joe Schmuck in the hospital, hurt up to high heaven, who might have BP. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think that every nurse, every doctor should have a module or something within
Absolutely.
at least once a year or twice a year, and then get swing practice
Well, you
at
know,
dealing with people with disabilities.
we have our annual compulsory education, and there's a thing of respect in the workplace and that, and there's lots of modules that they could bring it into, but they don't.
I mean, like, what I would like to see if respect in the workplace, actually having people like me stand up in front of the crew and say, this is what invisible disability is, versus bipolar, versus someone in a chair.
Oh, we don't even get any class teaching anymore. It's all these stupid modules online, and it's just like click, click, click. We heard it last year, so you're not really.
Yeah,
not
and
really
people
taking
don't really know the reality of, say, mental health, as in bipolar, and the difference of what I've got. The difference of what bipolar is. There is no manic with me.
You're just whacked in the head, that's all, isn't it? You're just a bit screwy, that's all.
No, I'm only screwy if I'm with my husband.
But you know, that's the attitude, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know, you're all just a bit, you know,
a little bit whacked.
Yeah, you're all just daft.
No.
Do you remember that old thing? No, I'm saying they just weren't. You know, you're just not normal, are ya? As the Londoners would do it.
Yeah,
right, you know?
like
there was no, you know, trying to.
Yeah, like I would love to see just one critical engagement with the disability community of all genre, because mental health is different from disability and cognitive neurological deficits. Things like that cause manic.
I know there's a big discussion because some of the sort of groups for the disabled are run by, we used to have a word for it, do-gooders. People
Those are the
who
ones that speak for
neurotypical-
you.
Yes, that's what I'm going to say. So
Autism
I know
speaks. Ugh.
they just like they do what they think you want done, and you have the same in the racial community as well, like the anti-racists and that the people who call you out for being racist when they've got no clue what being racist is.
Exactly.
Because they just think, oh well, you know, that must be racist because
I mean,
they don't really know.
What would actually really make my day is if a nurse like you that was stuck in a situation dealing with someone with a disability of some sort and didn't know what to do came up to me as a person with a disability who is a caregiver that could give advice and say, okay, what are the symptoms? What are you looking at? Basically. I might be able to tell you. Especially if the guy had autism. Because I can spot that from a mile away. Really? It's not that hard. If the person's like this, it's basic body language. Get them the fuck out of that noisy room before you fucking have them go nuts.
Yeah.
Because when you have sensory issues, it's not just one stupid sensory. It's everything. And then you feel every emotion there is. So you mix that with the sensory. Like,
yeah.
Right?
So no, there's so much to learn.
Oh, there's lots to learn.
And
but
I think it's better to learn from
the real thing.
The real thing.
You know.
This is my issue with book nursing.
Yeah.
Doesn't teach you.
No, they hand you a book, and next thing you know, black and white. People with disabilities, their parents did drugs or drank in order for them to have a disability. No, hell no. That was in my HCA bloody book.
Yeah, I remember you saying, and I find that phenomenal. I actually didn't read anything, you'll be pleased to know, like that in any of the nursing courses and manuals that I did.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I fought with my teacher for 2 hours over that goddamn thing. Then there was the MS part. It's like, really?
Yeah, you're done. Yeah,
I was ready to walk out and fail anyway, because nothing in that book taught me anything that I didn't already know. And then I had to smarten a few people up about illness and disability, because illness is genetic. Much like disability. If you have it in your family, chances are you're going to get it eventually. Either that or carry it on to your kids.
Yeah, it'll come out somewhere or other.
You know? And as far as I'm concerned, sooner or later someone's going to end up disabled as they age. And if these books and these practices aren't changed, the bigotry...
It's getting worse because...
Yeah.
It's getting worse because they're trying to compartmentalize every single thing we do. We have these policies and procedures, and they're supposed to be like the same in every hospital, and they're collecting it together and making it, but they're also going to the lowest common denominator on it. Of course, the people who do it, not the people that are doing it the best necessarily, but, you know, I'm sorry, but what might work in Calgary, where we're close, or Edmonton, where you're a city,
Yeah.
ain't going to work in rural.
No.
Because, well, they're not going to have any doctors anyway, so I suppose it's a
Pretty
moot
much.
point.
I mean, like, as far as I'm concerned, how you treat an average neurotypical patient is going to be a hell of a lot different than, say, someone of my issue or a mental health issue.
But even so, that should be guided by that person that you're looking after.
But wouldn't that break
So-
that compartmental
But
bullshit?
absolutely. But it should be, because I don't even treat my neurotypical patients the same because they're all different.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just like they're different, so are you. So how I might talk to you, I might not talk to one of the other people in your group because I might sense, as you say, oh, they're not. That's I've got to learn
how to
how
re-talk.
how to talk to you, because how I talk to you, just because I've spoken and got on with you doesn't necessarily mean, oh, now I know what I'm doing. I can talk to them all.
Yeah, no, you can't. I'm sorry, because
Yeah.
some mentalities might be
Exactly.
lower age groups mentally
Yeah.
versus, say,
Yeah,
you might
so-
come across another
But
autistic.
that's another thing that we're guilty of is, oh, well, I've got a friend who's black. It's that syndrome. So therefore I'm not, you know what I mean? Like it's that syndrome, isn't it? It's that same thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
my
I'm
mom's
brilliant
daughter
at this
has
because I can get on with Tara. Doesn't mean I'm going to get on with
everyone.
everyone.
I mean, if you went and talked to my friend who has 140 IQ with autism, you could talk to him like he was a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to me like that, and it's like, okay, you got me lost between the bag that you put up the person's twat in order to give him a pee bag.
So that's the difference. So I would know now with you how to have that or how to put that conversation. But just because I know that I could just tell you about the bag that goes up your twat doesn't mean that I could go to somebody else and say that and expect them to know, because they might want me to tell it in a completely different way.
Exactly.
You know?
It depends on how you use the language as to
Yeah.
how you address the person. I mean, a good lot of us, we might have a disability, but a good lot of us within our group are all adults with varying different mind degrees and mindsets and understandings. And none of us we all hate the baby fucking talk that the neurotypicals do.
Oh, you all right, dear?
Don't do it. You want to find one hell of a pissed off autistic? Try it. First warning, don't do it. A lot of us really hate that. I've actually had people in restaurants fired because of that.
Yeah, I hate it too. I hate it when they used to do that to old people as well. All right, dear. And
It's
then
like,
I'm not
fuck
your
off.
dear.
I'm not your dear, I am not your mom, and I certainly ain't your fucking child.
Yeah.
And my own mom at 4 years old never talked to me like that. So do yourself a big favor, grow up,
Actually,
shut the
if
fuck
you've
up.
ever watched Afterlife on Netflix, if you haven't watched Afterlife, you need to watch Afterlife. There's a fantastic episode where he goes in. It's Ricky Gervais.
Uh-huh.
He goes into an old people's home because he's a newspaper like that. He's a journalist, and he goes in with his local paper because someone's turned 101 or whatever, and it's freaking hilarious. He goes, it's just brilliant because he goes, oh, how nice it is to be 100. Fuck, I want to be fucking dead. She's going, I don't want to be fucking alive. It's, oh, but you got your letter from the Queen. I fucking hate the Queen. It was just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
I'd
really,
be so that way.
It's just brilliant. And
Yeah,
so
like,
it was one of my favourite episodes because that to me just sums up, they think just because this person's 102 or whatever that they're really happy and they want their birthday cake
No.
and they're happy that they made it.
No.
So I wanted to fucking die 10 years ago.
Get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I'll walk off the nurse clip. Yeah.
Which was brilliant. Yeah,
You
it was just genius, but
like, I just totally think that if people really looked at how the world has been in comparison to what we were as kids, yeah, we had our bullies. Let's put it that way.
Most of us have
But
been
a
bullied.
lot of the things that when we were kids, people were a lot more caring.
Yeah.
A lot more open, and now because people think that everything has to have an alphabet and a word to it, that it's okay to put people like me who do not understand the new norms or let alone social norms to begin with, because body language is a part of language, which equals me being blind, right? So how do you address that in concerns to people who cannot read body language, who cannot get the norms because they
was a
have a
saying,
hard time.
I wish I could remember the words of this, but I guess it's my dementia kicking in and I never remember. But I always remember one of your posts that sort of basically the premise of the post was you spend all this time teaching disabled people how to cope with the normal world, but you don't spend any time teaching normal people about what it's like to have disability and how that, you know, how they should be learning to cope with you if you want. That's not the right words, but you know the one I mean, which
Stop trying to assimilate the disability out of the person, but rather accept the disability
yes, exactly,
within
like
the person, which
it's
makes
about
them
like,
unique.
you know, why are you trying to make me conform when you don't want to learn about me?
Yeah.
I think that's.
I mean, my view about ABA is basically kind of like the conversion therapies that they had for gays. Not to sound bigoted, but it's the same deal.
Well, it is in a way because you're trying to make somebody something they're not, or trying to force them to be something that they're not.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically taking a person that likes. Well, I have some of my best friends are kind of that nature, and they make for better girlfriends than most girlfriends, right? But at the same time, it's the churches that are causing their issues to make them feel guilty for what and how they are born.
Yeah, and isn't that a lot of the world? You should feel guilty for who you are or what you say or whatever, instead of just saying, you know what?
What happens if the person is blunt for a reason?
Yeah.
Like me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I say listen to my words, not my voice, because, well,
yeah.
Right? There's meaning behind the words that is very profound when you really listen with your heart and you have an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have that, you're just going to think I'm fucking rude.
That's the key, isn't it? It's the open mind.
And about 90% of all people that have anything neurologically or cognitively wrong are going to be of that nature. Because I don't know of a 16-year-old kid that's actually going to have tech diplomacy or soft skills, really.
Yeah.
They're going to be rude as shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be argumentative. They're going to be wanting to fight you on every blasted thing, even though they know jack shit.
Well, you know, even a neurotypical 16-year-old can be an asshole, so, you know.
Even more so than the person with a disability. Because they don't know jack.
Yeah.
You know, and what I find is that the older, or the more kids are not taught about disability or difference of any nature at home, they take that attitude to school because the parents never taught.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's okay to go and, instead of help the person or protect them, they're busy stealing their lunch money or picking on them. And of course, that person with a disability is going to want to, right? I was there. I was barely 14 and I wanted to, you know, my mom, I don't know how she put up with it. You know, I wasn't the easiest kid. No kid with a disability is...
Tell me an easy kid and I'll tell you the mum's lying.
No, I would say that kids with disabilities have a lot.
I think it's a lot harder.
Because the growth in the brain is a lot slower too. Because you're developmentally delayed.
When it wasn't understood.
Yeah,
and
it's
now
still not understood.
When there's cuts to the core, so there's no help for those parents, that's going to cause a lot of issues too.
Yeah, and now I think that these cuts are happening. Why not, instead of stand there at the sidelines and seeing if the parents need help, why not become the neighbor and say, hey, look, I'm a nurse, I could help your kid in school.
Yeah, we've got
but you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a retired nurse,
go
and help somebody.
We've got retired teachers in our grannies actually already doing that with people, like going and helping them.
You know, I'd like to see that happen even in the adult community, because some of us adults will have nobody once their natural supports are gone.
And that's always the worry, isn't it?
It's my biggest worry, because the only natural support I've got is my husband. My mom's too sick. My brother's too sick. My sister's a selfish person. And my dad, well, he lives too far away, and as much as I love him, I also feel that I'm not that close.
No.
You know, and I'm being nice about it. And if
Well, and isn't this part of the reason with your group as well, that you're building that, you're helping each other out
yeah,
because nobody else is,
pretty much.
right?
I mean, if we had more neurotypicals in our group that wanted to learn like you do you know how much easier our world would be?
Oh, 1,000 times easier.
Instead of standing at the sidelines and saying, "Oh, you look funny, you don't look." I'm sorry, my name is not Forrest Gump. Okay? Yeah, I can run just
And
like
even,
him.
even if it was, Forrest Gump's a far nicer person
Have to.
than half the world.
Yeah, you know, instead of standing at the sidelines saying he's strange and he should be not allowed out in society, like I've come across in my time, trust me, as a when I was working security, the guy come off the bus, he could tell he had a disability of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
This well-to-do guy, during the Klein days, come off the Greyhound first, and he pointed out the guy that was busy rocking off the bus. You could tell the guy was somewhat agitated,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a disability. Well, the guy that was well-to-do came up to me and told me, "You shouldn't. That those kind of people shouldn't be there." And I said, "What kind of people?" And he pointed straight at the guy busy rocking. And I said, "Number one, buddy, watch who you tell that to." And he's like, "Why?" And I said, "I have a disability and I'm a security guard."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "That guy didn't ask. And I wouldn't wish my disability upon anyone,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm a security guard. What you are doing, I'm sorry, H does not support stupid."
Mm-hmm.
He shut him up.
Mm-hmm.
I shut him up. But still, that's the kind of arrogance that I've seen more and more of.
Yeah, and you will do, because actually you've got the same issues up the top now that you had in the Klein years.
Yeah, well, I see.
And that's the problem, is that,
Yeah.
they're defunding and doing all of this stuff, and...
It's also the little old adjective, lead by example. What's lead by example these days? Think about it. Everyone is a freaking sheep out there, and they're ready to jump off the next cliff if the Klein government or the Kenny government decided to do so, without looking
Only
to see if the
only
bottom
38% of them, and I'll be well stock of that lot.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at all of this and I'm going, what? This makes no sense, and I have a disability. There's no way in hell I would do that. But yet, people who should know better,
Yeah.
with your abilities,
They don't know better, though. They don't know.
with your abilities, are ready to follow the rest of her.
I just, I hope for a change of government, and I hope, but don't think that if there is a change of government that I'm not going to still be there holding their freaking noses to the
Oh
ground.
yeah, I will too. But still, I find that if people actually pulled their head out of their butts and actually saw what they were doing towards others, like the radicals that claim to be BLM, basically threatened my life. Okay.
Oh,
And-
that was that delightful little white girl, wasn't it?
Yes.
Wasn't even a person of colour.
Yeah. I'm not going to name any names,
No.
but at the same time, you gotta understand that when people go and talk to a person with a disability and call them white privilege just because their mom fought for your schooling, and you'd gone through special needs your whole entire life, you went to Grand Prairie Peace School of Hope, and they were threatening your mom to take you away, to put you in an insane asylum in the 80s.
Yeah.
At a time when they were still forcing people to have hysterectomies so that they couldn't have babies.
Oh, yes.
Eugenics in Alberta was very real
I
until the
heard about
early
that.
80s. I was one of those little girls, and I could have been much one of them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my mom said no. My mom took me away from here
Yeah.
to BC.
Yeah.
I could have been one of those.
Yeah. Oh, I think Kenny would like it nothing more than to bring all of that back.
And
I think
people-
he'd like you all nicely stuffed away in a home somewhere
Yeah.
where nobody could see
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Like a nice little Romanian orphanage. you
Yeah.
know, packed 5 to a cot.
yeah.
Lovely Christian that he
Oh
is.
yeah. Oh yeah. We're society's dirty little secret, but we're trying to come out of the woodwork, and it's going to take people like you to help us come out. Help us have the voice and the strength. And actually learn from us, because what you learn every day, you probably weren't raised around people like me. Or
No,
around
I mean,
that.
I'll be fair to my parents in that they were very much...
Hide them their embarrassment.
No, they were very not like that. My parents were very, I mean, in a time and age when it wasn't the norm, they were very anti-racist. They were um, very much taught me to accept people for who they are.
Yeah.
That was very, very, very much, you know, even my kids have taught me a lot too because they learn in school and they pull my husband more than me up these days. It used to be me as well because, you know, things you used to say that aren't acceptable. These days we've had this, but they will pull you up on us parents. They won't pull, you know, visitors up, but they'll pull us up at anything we say. And they've been doing it since I can ever remember.
Yeah.
You can't say that anymore. That's not acceptable.
Unless if a person with an actual disability says otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as I say, this is, you know, but
I will never condone the R word because I hate it.
yeah, but they were already, like, they were already picking out stuff like that, and they're a very different generation, this new generation.
Well,
I have high hopes that as long as they don't get pulled into
whatever rhetoric is going on.
whatever
right now.
rhetoric is going on, but it looks like that, you know, they are a very different generation. They are definitely very much more caring again. Like,
Yeah.
I feel that,
Well,
you know, they desperately care for, I mean, I watch, you know, my daughter very much care for her friend when he tried to commit suicide and stuff, and watched her deeply care and make a difference, even at the age of 14 as she was then.
so ever since getting to know my group, have you shown your family about us? Or?
Oh yeah, they know. I told my husband, like, when that you know, Tara's coming. She's from the Hummingbird group on Facebook that I thought that you know, and you know, she's got these invisible disabilities, and I mean, he's very well aware of the assholes that's in power right now.
Yeah.
He doesn't like talking politics, but
No, my group isn't always politics either.
no, it isn't.
It's
but
about teaching people just like
But
you.
no,
about,
they're all very much aware of it. I mean, you saw them at the dinner table.
yeah.
They were
Yeah.
chatting away. It wasn't like.
I think they kind of found me kind of fun,
Yeah,
personally.
They did. But that's it. But
You
they
know.
were totally ready to accept. There was no, you know, funny looks or.
Which is very refreshing for someone like me, because there's usually a lot of dirty looks, because I do say things that are left field. Quite.
Mind you, I have to say they do have a father who
Still.
whose behaviour is not the most diplomatic at the table, shall we say? So.
True, they're probably comfortable with it, but at the same time.
But they are comfortable. But their kids, as I say, they're and it's their generation. It's not just because of me. It's just how they have been schooled, and that's this generation that's coming up. I have high hopes for them. I don't think I see. I mean, you're always going to be those that have been schooled in by their parents, but I have high hopes for this generation that they care more. They care about their environment. They care about other people. I worry about the level of bullying there's been amongst them, but
yeah, that's the part that
I wonder if that's a little bit of the product of all the social media and the fact they're living their lives completely, you know, with all these fake people that are always so perfect.
Yeah, that's.
They seem to grow out of it.
I hope so, because
for the most part.
Because if little kids are basically just shy of whatever puberty age hits these days, and just do away. What's happening to the generation when it comes to mental illness? I mean, mental illness hasn't decreased or increased. It's just being more
spoken about. And these guys are more than any other generation talk about it amongst themselves a lot more.
But it's just mental illness that's being discussed. Yes. What I don't have is a mental illness.
Yeah,
I have a cognitive neurological condition.
Yeah.
And suddenly, I don't matter.
Yeah, well, as I say, I have high hopes for this generation. I have high hopes that when Trump is gone, a lot of this bullshit will start to die. Well, there's a lot of this hatred and, you know, like, that's been fostered, and you see it here in Alberta, and we saw it with those marches in Quebec and all that. I feel that once that cult dies, that the other cults will hopefully topple like dominoes.
Yeah. I mean, like, what I find right now is that everyone's talking about kids. Kids grow up.
Yes, this was a big thing we had. I absolutely shocked that at 18 suddenly everything stops.
Yeah.
And like, You don't just suddenly become neurotypical at the age of 18 when you had a disability your whole life. It's
Even
like
if it was
somebody
undiagnosed.
who's got cerebral palsy at 18. Are they suddenly going to be cured?
Exactly. You know,
No.
you can't.
And the same with you. Your brain doesn't suddenly think, oh, I'm 18, I'm going to rewire normal now. Boom! Voila!
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's midnight on my 18th birthday and now I'm normal!
I'm sorry. No, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry.
Really?
No.
Damn.
Damn,
You
eh?
disappoint me.
Actually, being
You're still waiting
neurotypical
for your
looks
18th
boring.
birthday, isn't it?
You know, I mean, seriously.
Or you
Like,
used to say, well, I'm not 18 yet. Clearly, I'm still just 17.
mentally, I'm 16 for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, the rest of my body seems to
Wants to go
fit
to
the
the
generation. Right?
The rest of me is heading for 40, 50, but, in here, that's
I'll just try and do the splits. My body's saying, hell fucking no. Right? You know, like, I have the energy of a 16-year-old, the mentality of a 16-year-old. But the rest of me, it's like, fuck you. Seriously. But,
You're going to have a lot of editing to do on this.
actually, I'm going to keep it natural. Because this is fun.
No one's going to get to the end.
I'll do little segments, whatever. It's a matter of how people see things in the world.
Yeah.
And I just want people to open up their eyes and say, I'm done treating people like shit.
Yes. And honestly, that's pretty much, not that I hope I ever treated people like shit, but that was, for me, that was a big thing. I am not going to treat this person, and that was right from a student nurse when I was in the care of the elderly in the unit with the dementia patients. I was like, I am not treating these people like that. And I actually put my foot down as a student nurse, and I completely changed the way that they, as a student nurse, that they cared for those patients in that unit.
Oh, good.
Because they were like, they just line them up on potties almost, like, for toileting time.
Put
and
them on a conveyor belt and
yeah,
have them.
pretty much. Yeah, I was pretty, and I said, these are individuals. These are
These are real
ladies of a
people.
generation who fought in the war, and who are very private.
Yeah.
Going back to England as well. Remember that, right? You could see, talking about picking up body language, you could see how, even though it happened to them every day, 3 times a day, how uncomfortable they were with it. So I said, no. I said, I'm going to take my patients one at a time to the washroom.
Yeah, and close the door.
And close the door, and then there's three toilets, and then I'll go and get the next one and put that in a close. By the time I put the third one in the third stall with the door closed, I can go open the first stall and get the first one out.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is allow the person the same dignity as they had when they were younger.
There's something to be said for treat
give them the
others as you want
choice
to be
of
treated
clothes.
yourself.
Give them the choice of clothes. Give them the choice of food. Don't expect grandma who's been raised on hot sauce all her life to want bland food.
Oh God, yes. Yeah.
Although they can blow it out their diaper for.
Oh, that's going to interrupt your thing.
So say goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Tara's
Sorry.
gonna hit the road. So.